The first oddity in town began with the lights that never went out at night. Then came the playgrounds, filled with laughter at midnight. It was soon understood that in the town of Blackwood Canyon, no one slept anymore. The real question wasn't why. The real question was, what does a human become when they don't sleep? Welcome to the Midnight Archive. Tonight, we open the record of a town forgotten by sleep and its dark secrets. If you believe some doors should never be opened, subscribe to our archive. And good night, if you can sleep. The journalist Ethan didn't believe in rumors. He believed in facts. He had built his career on debunking so-called supernatural events. So, when he heard the legend of the sleepless town in a corner of the internet, he packed his bags. He was expecting to find an industrial pollutant in the town's water supply, or perhaps a case of mass hysteria. Blackwood Canyon was an isolated town. When Ethan arrived at midnight, he noticed the first strangeness. The town was lit up as if it were noon. Even stranger, the streets weren't empty. A woman was watering her garden. Children were going down the slide in the park. Ethan parked his car and entered the only 24-hour diner. It was full. A middle-aged waitress cheerfully took his order. "We don't see many strangers at this hour," the woman said. "Are you lost?" "No," Ethan said. "I came for the rumors. Is it true that no one in town sleeps?" The waitress laughed. "Oh yeah, it's been about a month now. Think about it, we have 24 hours a day now. Who needs sleep?" This cheerful acceptance disturbed Ethan more than a scream of panic would have. Ethan spent the next few days conducting his own investigation. He had the water sources tested, the particles in the air measured. He examined old geological records. Everything was normal, but the town was not normal. What at first seemed like productivity was slowly turning into an obsession, a madness. The truly terrifying part began at the end of the third week, the waking dreams. He wrote in his notebook, "They are not sleeping. They have chosen to live their dreams." For a logical journalist, this was an unacceptable idea, but it didn't fit anything else he saw. Until it was his turn. It was his fourth day in town. When he closed his eyes, his mind was more awake than ever. The next day, his own waking dream began. As he was reviewing his notes, he heard a phone ringing from the corner of the room. The sound of the phone from the newspaper office where he was fired years ago. That night, he looked in the mirror, and his blood ran cold. His reflection was a younger, more idealistic version of himself, and his reflection was speaking to him. "Why did you give up on that big story, Ethan?" it whispered. "Why were you afraid?" Ethan backed away in terror. This illness, whatever it was contagious, and he was now infected. In a panic, he tried to find an answer one last time. He examined the town's old records. He found a diary from 100 years ago, a strange, pulsating rock. After they brought the rock to the town, no one could sleep for weeks. But what happened next? The pages of the diary were torn out. Ethan backed away in terror. This illness, whatever it was contagious, and he was now infected. In a panic, he tried to find an answer one last time. He examined the town's old records. He found a diary from 100 years ago, a strange, pulsating rock. After they brought the rock to the town, no one could sleep for weeks. But what happened next? The pages of the diary were torn out. As a last hope, Ethan went to the town sheriff. He found the sheriff in his office, talking to an empty chair. "Sheriff," Ethan said, his voice trembling, "we have to go. This place is driving us insane." The sheriff looked at Ethan with a calm and almost pitying smile. "Where would I go, son?" he said. "Everyone I love, all my memories, are here." It was then that Ethan understood. They weren't victims. They had chosen this state. They refused to wake up. Ethan had a choice: stay or flee from this madness. That night, he packed his bag. He jumped in his car and sped out of town. He didn't look back, but in his rearview mirror, he saw Blackwood Canyon, glowing like a surreal festival in the middle of the dark wilderness, with its lights that never went out. Ethan returned to the city. He wrote his story. But what he wrote was the rambling, incoherent delusion of a man who had lost his mind. No one believed him. His professional reputation was ruined. In the final scene of the story, we see Ethan months later, alone in his apartment at 3 a.m. Ethan's eyes are wide open. He stares at the ceiling, and in the corner of his eye, he sees a flicker of movement. According to this record from the Midnight Archive, it was never known if Ethan truly escaped Blackwood Canyon or if he just brought a piece of the waking dream back with him. Because some places, even when you leave them, never truly leave you. Sleep is the mind's way of protecting itself. So, what is left when the mind stops protecting itself? The archive is now closed. For now. Thank you for listening to the Midnight Archive. If you also think that reality is a thin thread, subscribe for our next record. Good night, if you can sleep.